The noise of the city. Narrow streets. Fluffy snow was flying. The pre-Christmas mood enveloped the city. But not everyone. Confession time. He never loved her. The man walked slowly down the street and stopped. It was a serious conversation on the phone. He needed to give answers. They were waiting for them at the other end of the connection. No. There were no feelings. He was in no hurry. My hands were freezing. Everything had to be told. From the first meeting, he did not consider Yumin as his beloved. There are many forms of love in the world. It doesn't have to be serious feelings, the guy said. Around the corner, someone was feeding a chilled kitten. The girl sat down near the bowl and could not take another step. The voice said that there will be a wedding. Yumin wants it. She was a lifeline for his family. He will do anything for the bride, the voice said. The girl was sitting around the corner. It was cold, but she continued to listen. He will even say that he loves her as much as he wants, the man said. Tears flowed. The pain in her soul from realization twisted the girl into a ball. At this time, there were a lot of people in the cafe. Someone was buying drinks at the bar. Someone was working on their laptop. At the next table, a couple was discussing other people's relationships. Yumin didn't hear or notice anyone. She looked silently out the window. She was called out. The guy opposite was looking at something on his tablet. It seemed they were not together. Then he decided to start a conversation. The man wondered if she had thought about the location of their wedding ceremony. The girl was silent. She hated him. She overheard her boyfriend's conversation. Accidentally, the pain crushed my soul. Yumin determined herself to gather her will into a fist and tell him to go to hell. It was hard, but she couldn't forget the feelings that she felt then on her haunches. It was painful to hear every word. Her hands shook. The groom continued his speech that he liked the place they were looking at. Yumin abruptly interrupted him by asking if he was ready to get married. The guy began to assure that he was fabulously lucky to have her, and how could she even ask? The girl continued to look out the window. His speeches were sweet. They met a long time ago. She always liked this trait of his. The handsome man knew how to speak smoothly. If only she had known that everything would turn out this way. The lines of speech continued. He said that this was only for her because he loved, but Yumin knew the value of these words. The guy wanted to take the hands in his own. The brunette pulled back. I didn't want to. She asked what she should do next. She turned to him. She smiled so tenderly and sincerely, spoke just as sweetly that she was so tired of him. She smiled sweetly, and in my soul there was a burning hope that the guy would be in as much pain as she was then under the snow. Involuntarily, Yumin's hands clenched in anger, and she suggested just pretending that the wedding wasn't even discussed. There is very little left. The people around who unwittingly became witnesses were upset. It seemed everyone heard. Their whispers could be heard, that she threw it laughing, that it was Christmas Eve. The guy was confused. He definitely did not expect such a turn. The tablet was put aside. I asked why this decision was so sudden. Yumin played with her hair and continued to laugh sweetly. She enjoyed the taste of revenge. Honestly, she suddenly realized that she was too good for him. The game of a girl immensely in love with herself was a success. Besides, she was just tired of him. After all, you can't order your heart. The neighbors at the table turned around. What a bitch, they thought. Wasn't it enough for the guy to spend 6 whole years of his life on him? She continued the conversation. The bartender behind the counter spilled his juice at what he heard. She hesitated a little. After all, there were feelings. But she said that it was necessary to end this. Her smile beamed. 3 months have passed. Life went on. It was warm on the city streets. Couples in love were walking. Yumin was terribly annoyed by them, especially if they stood in her way. And so I had to drag this terribly heavy bag. She turned around. The couple was really cute, but she didn't like that they discussed and gossiped behind her back. Immediately, memories came flooding back. She too was recently such a baby in a couple. She was my favorite girl. She froze in place for a minute. It's so beautiful. She envied them in a good way. Love is wonderful. Yumin understood that she still had not recovered from the insult. A lump of tears came to my throat. Many years were wasted. It was the illusion of love that was destroyed. Despite all efforts to maintain the relationship, life in the office was in full swing. The girls were all at work. The silence was dissolved by the sound of keyboards and the solution of questions. Yumin tried to sneak in quietly, but it did not go unnoticed. The girls were surprised that she came to work so late. She continued to drag her bag, and I was late because I spent the whole morning walking around the market looking for samples. The bag did not give in to her. Some of the samples ended up on the floor. A colleague asked me to drop everything. Yumin should have gone to rest. The bag was piled on the chair, and the girl listened to the advice and went to the restroom. The girls collected samples while discussing it. Yumin has been working gruelingly for the past 3 months. If only everything was okay with her, they worried. The girl was lying in the restroom. My head is a mess of thoughts. I wish I could hear the girls discussing her outside the door. Human tried to put everything together. It was stupid to behave like that. After all, she herself decided to leave, and she knew the reason. She created this company for so many years and hard work. It would be stupid to ruin it all because of heartache. She decided that she needed to calm down and relax. There was no point in thinking about your ex, but I needed sleep. She closed her eyes. I couldn't sleep. Anger won. She hated him madly for everything. I shuddered and blew myself up. The door opened. A colleague, holding 2 cups in her hands, looked into the room. She wanted to see if the girl was sleeping. Human stood up. She didn't sleep. The girl tried to assure that everything was really fine with her. The employee brought her warm tea. It was worth drinking. Human scared her colleagues with her appearance. "You can't work so hard," my friend asked. The girl was sipping nice tea. She agreed. The employee understood perfectly the reason for such obsession with work. "It's all because of the breakup with my boyfriend." She was worried about her friend. The colleague was also worried about how Human would conduct business in the future in this state. "You will need to try not to mention your ex." And then it dawned on my friend. She called out to Human and invited her to go to the same place with her. The girl was surprised at this proposal, but I was glad to see him. She assured me that she felt great. A colleague started a conversation about a girl who advertises their bags. Today is her birthday, and a friend suggested we go together to have fun and get distracted. At first, Human thought about it. I thought while drinking warm tea, and she immediately agreed. In the evening, the girls got ready and went to the club. There were a lot of people. It was very noisy and difficult to hear anything. They were met by Soyeon. It was the birthday girl. She thanked them for coming. The girls congratulated her. The gift was given. Soyeon said that there are many of her friends here. She asked not to be shy, to communicate and treat herself. They released her to the guests. Human was in a hurry to start having fun. "Let's go eat and drink," she suggested. A friend asked me to slow down. Phones. Presenters of live broadcast swing around her. She herself seemed to come to life. After grabbing some snacks, she found an empty table who apparently was alone. She wanted to start a conversation. She asked if he was Soyeon's friend. The answer was a short no. Human felt awkward. She hasn't met guys for a long time. "So he's not a friend," the girl clarified. Too shy, apparently. The brunette wanted to continue the dialogue. "She came here with a friend, and did he try the dishes at the celebration?" she said. The answers were stingy. It was clear to him. No, I didn't try. The dialogue didn't work out. Gradually, Human began to get angry. After all, the guy turned on ignore and didn't even look at her. Suddenly, he asked not to talk to him anymore. The handsome man turned to her and stared. With his gaze, he showed all his hostility towards the girl he did not yet know. Now Human could see him. "Well, if he doesn't want to talk, then he won't talk anymore," she chuckled. The gaze continued for a couple of minutes. Suddenly, the guy approached. The brunette jumped up in surprise. "Scared me. What did he need?" She was scared. The handsome man suddenly asked if they had ever met. Human found it strange. Just now he didn't want to talk, but then he started a dialogue. How quickly a person's mood changed. She hadn't seen him before. Exhaling, she began to chew the treats. The handsome man asked if she was a celebrity or a singer. But no, she was an ordinary person. Nothing is clear. It looked like flirting. Maybe he liked her. Or perhaps he simply confused him with someone else. Strange guy. Such phrases for flirting have not been used for a long time, Human thought as she continued to chew. And yet the man was handsome. Even such clumsy flirting didn't spoil it. For some reason he sat looking at one point. Apparently he was thinking about something. Interrupting the atmosphere of tension, the phone on the table vibrated. The girl called out. They called him. The handsome man answered the call. And yet he is strange, Human thought. And I noticed that my friend was still walking around somewhere. The guy jumped up abruptly. The chair couldn't resist and fell to the floor. It was sudden. He ran away. The brunette was surprised by this behavior. She was scared. The man rushed around the hall without noticing anyone. I wonder where he ran off to, Human thought. Maybe something happened. Something was said in a phone conversation. She was now sitting alone at the table, waiting for her friend. The brunette looked at the floor. Behind the general noise and rumble in his haste, the man did not notice how he dropped his wallet. There was also an ID on the floor. Apparently it fell out of my wallet. The handsome man's name was Hendo. So we met. The girl ran out into the street. I wonder where he went. She was in a hurry to find the guy so she could give him her wallet. She was in such a hurry, but she was exhausted from running. Tired. I wonder where he could have gone, the girl thought. Maybe he can do without his wallet. It wouldn't work out that way. The girl understood that it wouldn't be found that way. So she decided to go back and give the wallet to the administrator. He might come back on his own. Suddenly Yumin heard a man's voice, and he stopped. He was scolding someone. I was indignant. He asked how she found him. Wasn't himself. The voice seemed familiar. The girl came closer. Carefully, so as not to be noticed, she peeked around the corner. Approaching cautiously to see who was there, Yumin froze. But nevertheless, I only saw the silhouette of a man, his broad back. The girl didn't go any closer. She tried to see who it was. It seemed like it was the same guy she was trying to catch up with. She secretly saw a small silhouette in front of the man. It was most likely a girl who made excuses for seeing him on social networks. Hendo scolded his interlocutor that he was tired of explaining to her. The girl around the corner realized that this was a love quarrel. Apparently, we need to go back. The next sentence made her stop. He said that he dated out of pity, and not because he loved. How familiar it was. He kept saying that he couldn't go on like this anymore. Hoen doesn't want to volunteer. He doesn't need it anymore. The guy grabbed his face with his hand. He couldn't tolerate this behavior anymore. It felt like she didn't understand what the conversation was about. And so every time, Hoen looked at his interlocutor with a tired look, parallels in her head. She remembered hearing the same conversation from her. Listened silently to the answer. His cheekbones clenched. He was furious. Maybe it would be like that, but not now. Now he no longer wanted to pretend that he loved. The interlocutor shuddered from insult and pain. Hendo stated that she was happy thanks to him for many years, but he no longer wants to play a lover. It has always been difficult for him. The situation was heating up. Suddenly, the guy felt a sharp blow to the back of his head with some object. Although soft, it was unexpected. Human stood behind him. She was the one who threw something at him. Her expression was clearly not good-natured. Memories came flooding back to her in a huge torrent. He was the same as her former lover, the same cruel deceiver. She remembered how she squatted and heard that terrible conversation. When I found that if she had acted like that then, it would have been easier for her. She drew parallels in her head, and suddenly she realized that now another man was standing in front of her. She realized what she had done. The friend came out into the hall. There really were so many people here you could easily get lost. She couldn't even find Yumin right away. Suddenly, in one of the corners of the hall, the girl saw her friend. She was sitting at a table and smiling sweetly at someone. They communicated. I wonder who she's chatting with, my friend thought. A handsome young man sat next to him. Perhaps she knew him. This surprised my colleague very much. It turns out that my friend was no longer sitting alone. She didn't know that there was someone else she knew here. Suddenly someone came up from behind, very close, and he seemed to be looking in the same place as she. This was unexpected. The girl turned around sharply. She was scared. The guy began to apologize sharply. He didn't want anyone to think anything bad about him. He just looked at his friend too. The girl realized that we were talking about Yumin's companion, but still I decided to clarify. She asked if you were perhaps a friend of that guy, pointing to the handsome man at the table. The guy next to me was a little taken aback. He confirmed. The friend decided to find out more. For example, perhaps he was lonely. It was true. The girl decided not to miss the opportunity and try to introduce the guys. After all, Yumin was alone too. The blonde blushed from the surprise of such questions. And then he said that he was also lonely. Isn't that good for them? The girl did not understand why he said this. It was unexpected. Apparently he started flirting. The guy was blonde and quite cute, but he was clearly younger. She doubted. This could get in the way and end badly. Through the noise of general conversations in the hall,